Good evening, guys. This has been a request by one of my really good friends, Michael. I'm giving a shout out to you. A while back, you asked me about if I can do maybe just a quick review on how to do modifications to the Curvin Airboss Ultra. And yeah, so I've got a client that we've recently done work on the gun. We changed it from a 2.5 back to 22 cal. We did valve upgrades. We did a new valve block, upgraded hammer spring. We did the ports, and it's not running the standard Curvin Airboss barrel. It's actually using the Curvin Phantom barrel due to the rifling on the inside is, how can I say, it's much more suitable and respective towards slugs. Most Airboss Ultra barrels sometimes are slug fussy, and with this gun, it's not slug fussy. I'll recommend whenever you have a Curvin Airboss Ultra, and sometimes say example, you have issues with your impact shift, like you'll add your silencer and you'll notice okay the gun is shooting a little bit left or high, and every time you want to you zero your scope and you touch the shroud or something and the gun starts shooting skew, you can just remove the shroud. It's a common issue due to the shroud it's not cut evenly on both ends, and you'll notice as well when you tighten down your shroud, your barrel starts to shift either to the left or it starts pushing down closer to the cylinder. And yeah, let me show you guys. So this is the Curvin Airboss that we recently built. Now I'm going to add the Ultras regulated now, just to get a little bit more consistency. The gun is currently set up to shoot, how can I say, it's shooting now the 23 grain javelins at around about 910 feet per second, and that's with only one turn with on the hammer adjuster. The gun gives a rough amount about a five between 4 to 5 magazines worth of shots at its power curve, meaning it's shooting consistently between 920 to 910 feet per second. The highest that we have achieved with this gun so far, we've pushed a 26 grain javelin now today, upwards to a terminal velocity of up to 1030 feet per second, just with minor modifications that we have done with the gun. I'm going to be quickly just take the gun out of the stock just to show you guys for the guys who are using the Curvin Airboss Ultra will understand as well. So we just need to remove the gun, and you'll notice with this stock it's been nicely moved out. We basically took a soft sandpaper, flattened it nicely. We went out, we took some clear varnish, went over the gun, and we gave it a small touch of clear coat just to give it that smooth texture to the wooden stock as well, just to give it something nice to look at. And when you hold your gun, the feeling that you're not holding something that's rough around your hands, and especially when you lay with your cheek to the side of your cheek rest, you don't get irritated. And yeah, so with this gun, some of them like this one, sometimes these stocks are hard to remove, but yeah, this is how the basic Airboss Ultra will look. And I'll show you guys in a bit what I mean about with the ports as well. And it's not too big on the ports. Like you'll notice when you remove your scope here on top. Let me just grab a quick Allen here, just to give you guys an idea what you guys can do at home. It's actually something simple, and if you feel like or you're scared of doing it yourself, you can ask someone maybe to give you a hand. I'm gonna just give you guys a basics of what you can do at home and how to do it properly. I'll be back with you guys shortly. Alright, so I just quickly disassembled the gun, just to give you guys a more or less an idea of what you can do. Now, to show you guys what I meant about when doing the ports as well, because you'll see on the inside here, right there, so where your bottle adapter comes in, you're basically where your barrel port comes. Now I'm going to show you guys a nice and simple way. There's two ways you can build these guns. We've got one currently set up with the FX barrel as well, and it's actually easy to fit the FX barrel due to this barrel thickness is 12 millimeters. The FX barrel is 13 millimeters, meaning if you've got someone that knows how to do machine work, you can basically just machine the 1 millimeter off of the brass adapter, and then you just need to, how can I put it, machine your length as well of the barrel. Or you can just have a new brass adapter made. It's actually quite simple. And now, just put this one down here. Now you guys will see, there's the ports, nicely drilled and polished. Due to its 22 cal, we don't oversize the ports. So we make them 4.8 millimeters. And now, with the block as well. So with the block here to rear, where your rear Allen screw comes in, you can just have a look. So you'll notice it's 5 millimeters in diameter, meaning if you take a 4.8 millimeter or 4.9 millimeter drill bit, you can actually drill between the, basically where the threads and the main part of this block is. Make sure when you do drill to center your drill, don't touch any part of the threads. So then you'll be able to enhance the flow from your bottle adapter, from your main valve into your block, into the barrel as well. So now let me have a look quickly. Now we come to our bottle side as well. So you'll see with the bottle, same thing, nicely polished. There's no burn marks. Also polished, drilled at 4.8 millimeters. The valve spring on the inside of this block as well has been softened. Same standard length, just a really soft valve spring. So what I'm going to do is I'm quickly going to degas this block and the cylinder so that we can have it, so that I can show you guys just more or less how soft this valve spring needs to be to ensure that you get the correct amount of power and to ensure that you have a safe use with this block without breaking or having any issues in the long run. Alright, so now I'm draining the air. The best way to get the air out of these guns is by loosening your full adapter. So then we'll just give it a chance. You'll see on this gauge as well how quick the gauge is dropping its pressure. Just to give you guys an idea. So as the pressure drops, you'll notice your valve starts slowly leaking. So then you can open the valve just a tiny bit more. And now this is something that I do. I don't recommend it. So now the bottle pressure is roughly 100 bars. So what I normally do is I'll press down on this valve to open the valve completely, just to give you guys an idea. So now the gun is degassed. So there's still air in it, but look how soft this valve spring is. I can take one finger. It feels like a pen. So basically it needs to be as soft as it would be when you're using a pen, or basically your standard click pens. You want it soft but not too soft, just enough so that it's really simple for you to push down on the valve. So now I'm closing off this bottom valve again, locking it down, putting it away. And another thing I want to show you guys that's really unique. So there's a product called Air Marksman. So it's specifically lubricant designed for PCPs or air rifles, and you get for rimfires and standard rifles as well. So here we've got the silicone based, which I use a lot, and then there's an anti-static that you can use on your scopes, your whole gun, your synthetic parts of the gun. It helps for water retention, it's dust resistance, it oil resistant as well. If you have, like normally some people have oily skin, or your hands is dirty, or it's a bit oily, you can touch your scope, you won't have any issues. And then you also use a Marksman barrel cleaning oil as well. This I use a lot. Like, this is my go-to. Now everything has been degassed. I can quickly loosen out my cylinder, which, yeah, it's like you guys see, it's, for me, it's due to I do it so much, I'm used to it. It doesn't even bother me anymore. So yeah, now I'm just gonna take out my seal at the back, take some of my silicone spray now, before fitting the gun I always make sure just to oil up my parts as well. So I always make sure that I've got enough lubricant on my O-rings as well, especially when I'm fitting parts on it. So this is the simple part now. Now we're just going to quickly fit the regulator on here. Make sure that we tighten it down completely, and remember one thing, close off this old filling valve. Due to on the Ultros regulator there is a quick fill connector on it, so you must never use your old filling valve ever again. So if you have a nut or something that you can close it off with, I'll really recommend it, because you do not want to use that part again. Okay, now just want to make sure that we tighten this thing down all the way so we don't have any issues. Put that down quickly. Make sure it's locked. Let me give it maybe half a turn now. And yeah, so what we normally do is we make sure that all our seals and our gauges gets lined up exactly, so that we don't have any issues with, let's say example, you need to fill the gun or something is in the way. So we normally make sure that we have enough distance between the two so that we can use it as well. Now that was the simple part. Let's give our front new O-rings as well. Give it some lubricant. Quick spray on there. Now here comes the fun part. Now before I add it, because normally from factory they said it run about 100 or 120 bar. So let me just grab here. See what I've got. Where's those things now? There we go. So we're gonna have a look here on the inside now. See where it is. Then you want to turn it anti-clockwise to increase the pressure. Don't turn it too much. Give it around about a quarter turn and leave it. Because most of the adjustment you'll do with your hammer spring. So if you really do need more pressure, you can do that. My aim pressure for on this gauge is now at around about 2000 to 2500 psi. And what's nice is you can add a 300 bar cylinder to this as well. So now you need to remember your old filling full per gauge will be your regulator gauge. The new gauge will be your full pressure gauge. So always remember that. And you must always make sure when you add everything that all your parts and everything that you fit to the gun lines up. And yeah, I'll recommend these Ultros regulators anytime. I haven't had any issues. I fitted multiple of these regulators to some of the air rifles, and I haven't had any issues. So let's quickly get this gun back together, and then we can have a look where our full pressure will be. As I was saying, just to tell you guys, sorry about that, the battery ran out on my GoPro. But yeah, that gun is capable of reaching up to 92 foot-pounds of energy, shooting a 40 grain javelin at just over 1040 feet per second. And now, like you guys see, I'm just quickly tightening down these bolts to ensure that these are nice and tight. And always remember to pull back your cocking lever, and after you're done, just release your trigger and have your cocking settle back into position. Now, we're going to be taking our barrel. As you guys can see, it's already been lubed. I put some silicone grease on it. Now we're just going to take it quickly and just like this, twist it just enough and it will go back into its position. And also when you remove the rear grab screw, you'll be able to center out your barrel really quick. And yeah, and these guns will perform no matter the situation, the day. It can be hot, it can be cold, they will always run consistent at high power. And yeah, so this is my review, as you guys can see, on the Kirwan Airboss Ultra in 22 cal, or basically it used to be 25 cal, converted back to 22 cal. If you guys want a lot of power through these guns, this one is still currently running the standard hammer spring. But if you guys can change out the standard hammer spring to a little bit, basically to a stiffer spring, same length, same OD as well, you can push these guns to extreme level. Like if you take a standard Curvin Airboss Ultra, swap out the hammer spring, swap out the valve spring, do the ports to 4.9 millimeters, the valve, the block, and your barrel. Make sure that your ports are always balanced. You should not have any unbalanced parts on your gun. It will tremendously affect your air rifle. There's a lot of people that say, yeah, don't ever do this to the gun, don't ever do that to the gun. We've been testing and running air rifles at extreme powers for the last 4 years now. I've had a couple of air rifles that I built private for myself. So what I normally do is, before I design or build or implement any modification to anyone's air rifle, and this is something that people need to understand as well, I don't just take a random guy's air rifle and say, okay, right, I'm going to build this gun for you now. It's going to have this much power. I don't do that. I'm also not sponsored by anyone. All the rifles that I've had within the last 5 years now, I've bought with my own money. I've spent thousands and thousands of rand on those air rifles, modifying them, seeing what the limits are. I've broken multiple air rifles. That's my own personal rifles. Before implementing any modification to anyone's rifle, I do the testing myself on my own rifles to make sure that when I do any changes to someone's air rifle or to any air rifle, I know what the limit. Firstly, I'll know what the limit factors are. Secondly, I know what the safety, basically the safe range of power will be for that rifle, and I also do know what will be the max power output for those rifles. So I've worked on FX air rifles, Curvins, Nova Vistas or the Leviathans, the Venge X's, almost all the Snow Peak and Artemis air rifles, and Kral as well. So I know what will be the limit factors. I know what will be the main causes that when you change to, let's example, let's take Kral for a big example. On most of the Krals on the valve side, due to it has such a small valve stem, a lot of people will say, yeah, or people recommend, no, do the ports, let's put this hammer spring in it, and they don't understand the long term of that rifle. That gun will actually break the valve pin. It will literally bend it so badly that it will damage your valve block as well. That's one unique thing about the Curvin Airboss Ultra. The valve design on these guns are really good. They are really thick. They're about I think we measured out 4.1 millimeters, almost, if I'm not mistaken. No, sorry, it was 3.1 millimeters, and I mean that's a thick valve on these guns, and they can handle a lot of force from the hammer. That's why we can easily say to the people out there, if you decide to swap out for a little bit stiffer hammer spring, you're more than welcome. And we've had some of the Curvins as well. You'll notice with your trigger, when you cock the gun, you'll have that effect of when you cock the gun, it will go off by itself. Now that's also a quick fix. You'll see at the bottom here at your trigger assembly, there's two small 2.5 Allen bolts or 2mm Allen bolts. You can remove them. Then you've got your trigger shear or your hammer shear as we call it. Now what you can do there is, you'll notice on the back side it's 3.4 millimeters width. You can remove 1 millimeter width off it, meaning you have, where it will stand at an angle, you need to get it to be flush into the block so that it can sit exactly onto your hammer. It will also help you to take away a lot of that trigger play. Like now, there's no trigger play on this. The trigger is as stiff as possible, and also it helps to be as smooth as possible, so you don't have any delay on your shots. On your hammer side, polish your hammer nicely. Make sure that you don't have any uneven parts on your hammer, and also where the 90-degree drop is, where your hammer shear will latch onto your hammer as well. Make sure that you can have a straight edge on it. Try and remove that 90 edge, because that sometimes it causes it to slip as well. So what we normally do is we put it on the machine, we cut a straight edge into it to ensure that we have maximum latch onto our triggers, so that in the long term, that when you use the gun everyday cocking, I mean this gun specifically, is, I think, almost 2 years old. It used to be one of my private rifles as well. And I sold it to a customer, and I mean, he's happy. This gun has been put through its paces. This gun, when I had it, was capable of shooting a 30 grain slug at just over 1,000 feet per second with the phantom barrel that it had on. And then I swapped it out for a 25 cal. I had it for about 6 months, converted into 25 cal, and then when I sold the gun, the customer asked me if we can convert it back to 22 for him, and that's what we've done. And yeah, this gun, I mean, it's been through its paces, it has done its work, and it has proven its money's worth. It's not a high end air rifle. I will never say it will perform with any high top end air rifles in, how can I say, of the design of the block. It's really rough. But one thing I can tell you, this thing will outrun most of those expensive rifles with this configuration. I mean, it's got a 480 millimeter barrel, but we shoot at 150 yards. We're still shooting a thumb size grouping, and we haven't had any issues. That's why I say, when you can, swap out your standard Curvin Airborne Ultra barrel for the Phantom barrel. Due to the, how can I say, it's got a pre-installed slug barrel. And with the Phantoms, the twist rate is 1 in 16, and if you look into the barrel grooves as well, it's really nice. It's not as rough as the Airborne Ultra barrels. It's basically a little bit to the higher end of the barrel. And yeah, I'll recommend swapping the barrel if you want to shoot slugs, and if you need to polish your crown in front, make sure that you polish it nicely. You can use fine grit paper. You can do it at your house, like I said. This is a video that I've been asked about a lot from Michael, my really good friend now. I mean, we've been talking for the last few weeks now, and he's asked me a couple of times if I can do a review and make a video of how to do work on the Airborne Ultra. So yeah, this is my video, and you guys must have a great night. Thanks.